Hello everyone, I hope you're doing really well. I'm Alina Ghost and today we're going to be talking about lead work with a very big dog. In case you're new here, I am Alina Ghost and I have a big white German Shepherd dog cross with a Swiss Shepherd. So basically he's coming up to 5 years old. We've had him since he was 2 months old. And he is a family dog, so I don't know if you've been watching my channel, but actually I've got a 10-month-old baby boy as well called Aiden. So Casper is very much part of the family. He's been spoiled rotten, especially during lockdown. But yeah, no, he's definitely not a guard dog. He's definitely not a police dog. And he's very much part of the family, which means that actually he can be naughty sometimes. So although I'm going to be showing you very good lead work that he does very well, sometimes he can get very excited and just not listen. It is quite rare. He is very well behaved, if I do say so myself. So he is well trained, and I've been training him since he was a puppy. So I don't know if you've seen the other popular video that I've got on my channel is around Casper growing up from 2 months old to 12 months. So I'll make sure to pop a link for you in case you haven't seen that. But basically Casper's been with us ever since. We got him from the breeder, who is actually in Yorkshire. So I have had questions around where our breeder was. So it's in Yorkshire in UK, and he was actually born on the Yorkshire moors, which is absolutely funny when you think about it. But anyway, let's get on to lead work. So these are the 7 things that I wish I knew when I first started teaching and training my dog lead work. So our Casper is actually a real foodie, and I wish somebody told me just flood him with tons of treats to actually get him to do what you want. Yes, to be honest, I have watched and did so much research before I got Casper. I even had dogs in the family growing up and stuff. But at the end of the day, I didn't realize that every single time you have to set them up for success. You have to ensure that you are offering those treats to the dog each time they do something correctly, and you need to encourage them to do it correctly as well. And if there's something else that they know better, so for example for us it was always sit, so he knew that from like week 1 probably, because the breeder kept teaching him that. But in terms of actually offering him treats for doing something well, if he didn't do the lead work very well, would get him to sit and then give him a treat, so that it's that positive association. So basically I very much recommend that you do use this treat system. There are people who use a clicker system as well as treats. If your dog isn't interested in food, sometimes like toys will help. Attention is a very good one as well, but for us in particular, treats definitely worked really well. So each time we wanted him to do something, we'd pop him a treat. And that's something that we did in German Shepherd classes as well. So basically each time he would walk with me, I'd give him a treat, knowing that he would appreciate that treat, and then he'd associate the positiveness of that treat with actually doing that training and the motion of whatever I've asked him to do. This is especially important when they're very young and like tiny puppies, because like now I can do lead training and do work with Casper without actually offering him anything too much, so not that many treats. But especially when they're younger, it's so important to just give them something that they like, and it's that positive association. I am very much encouraging other people to do more positive stuff than actually teach them fear. So for example, if they don't do something, then you will get like something else, like a punch or like a hit, you know. So it's so much better to teach them positive than the negative. So I definitely recommend going for treats, and yes, I definitely found that works for us really well. The second thing is about pairing a command with your body language. So this is something that they did really well in the German Shepherd class, and something that I learned in our German Shepherd classes, and that's actually when you are, let's say you've stopped with the dog to go forward, you always set off at the same foot, And the reason you do that is so that they recognize the fact that if you're going with this foot, then you are going to be walking straight and you expect them to heel next to you. And the other thing actually is the fact that you'll notice that Casper is always walking next to us on the left hand side. Basically, I was training him very early on and it just something that came naturally. I found it comfortable for him to be on my left hand side. It doesn't mean that you have to, but for me it worked really well. I was able to hold his lead and have a treat at the same time and then walk forward, tell him heel. That's the other thing, make sure that you actually know the word that you're using and always use that word. So for example, if it is heel, then make sure that you're using heel, heel, and be repetitive about it, but I'll go into that in a second. Other words that you can use is pretty much like close, for example. I was also going to mention leads. So when you are at the beginning, teaching them lead work, make sure that you have a shorter lead. Short leads are very good to actually get the control that you need, especially at the beginning. Have them close by, and in my German Shepherd classes they've even recommended that you concatenate, or whatever that word is, like make it shorter, as short as possible, so that your dog is right next to you rather than having a very long lead. Long leads are very good for later on, especially when you're working on things like recall. Number 3 is that the back and forward method is awesome. I absolutely love this method, and basically what you do is that you walk a little bit forward, but all of a sudden you tell them heel and you turn to go back. So basically they're heeling because they don't have a clue where they're going. It's that unpredictability of where you are heading that works really well. So I call it the back and forward method. I don't have a clue whether there's a name for that, but it works for me. So especially for lead work at the beginning, it was very good to confuse him, to get him to heel next to me because he had no clue of where we're going next. Number 4 is about consistency and repetition. I briefly mentioned this earlier, but basically once you've got a command, stick to it. So if you're using heel, only use heel. If you're using close, so make sure that you're always using that word. I can't stress enough how repetition is so important. The thing is, they start to understand that command. They need to hear it so much that they actually know what the command is. They've heard it 1,000 times. Imagine you're listening to a song over and over again. It's just a little bit like that, where you know the words off by heart, and for the dog it's very important to know the command in order to do the command. So basically do it the same way and then do it over and over and over and over again. Actually, something that I was going to mention about the consistency is the fact that we were not able to actually offer him every single day training, and the reason for that is because actually I worked full-time, and even though I worked from home for half of that, so I worked from home 3 days a week, it actually meant that he would go with the dog walker. But because I haven't really asked the dog walker to do any training, because that's not their job is just like to walk the dogs, you know. It meant that by the time that I got back to Casper and started training him again after those few days, that he would have forgotten what I've asked him to do. So that's a little bit frustrating, and something to keep in mind, that if you're doing training, make sure that you're doing it daily if you can, but if not, then keep consistent and try and do your best. But because I had that gap with the dog walker, who wasn't reinforcing the commands and the training that I was doing daily when I was at home, then I found that actually there was a lag, and it took me, let's say, I felt like I was starting again from the beginning, and I had to do that quite often. Number 5, I wanted to talk about the fact that nobody's perfect. As I've mentioned, he's not a working dog. Also, I'm not perfect, so I do remember lots of times where I got frustrated. I think the main thing, the most important thing, is actually just trying to keep relaxed, because the dog knows when you are angry, when you're upset, when you're frustrated, and they pick up on those vibes. Believe it or not, they're a bit like a baby. They pick up on the vibes of the owner. So basically it's just try and keep calm. If you are not calm, just take 5 minutes off and go back to it. You don't have to do the training there and then. And anyway, when they're puppy, it's always good to have training in short bursts because they do get tired. Basically, remember and be realistic that yes, the dogs aren't perfect, you're not perfect, so both of you are either going to do it wrong, you're not going to have the best training every single time that you do it. So just be consistent, be calm, and do what you're doing because you will get there in the end. I think for us, it even took about a year or even 2 to get him just like so spot on. It's like you say a command and then he does it. It's fantastic and it feels so good, but it took a very long time to actually get there. Look guys, at the end of the day, Casper isn't perfect on the lead even now. And actually something that I found is that he's better on the lead once he has been walked. So something actually to keep in mind is the fact that you should probably exercise your dog before you start the training. And that's something that Caesar says quite a lot. Most behavioral issues are stemming from the fact that they have too much energy, and especially when it comes to a big dog like Casper, it's very good for them to actually have a run around, have a walk before they start training with the lead work. That means that when he's super excited to go to a park, let's say, he is trying to pull, but I'm sticking to being consistent. I keep telling him heel, I keep giving him a tug on the lead, and I keep repeating the same thing over and over again so that he knows what I want from him. Number 6 is Casper is actually better at walking with a pushchair. So I think the reason for that is that he loves and prefers to be in front of us when he's walking. So he's a bit of like a scouter, I call it. He's scouting out like our walk and our path. So to me, it seems that actually it's not just that, it's the fact that he's such a big dog and he walks so much quicker. So instead of me running, I feel like he's just so much better walking next to a pushchair or pram because he's like right next to it, whereas I'm behind it. And it just seems to work really well. Let me know in the comments if anybody else has found a similar situation like that, because I've never heard anybody talk about this and it's something quite unique. It's just something that Casper seems to do and find much easier walking on the lead when it's next to a pushchair. Number 7 is feeling the lead, and what I mean by that is actually having the ability to tug the lead without being harsh. It's just like a tug so that the dog can feel the motion. So basically the idea is if the dog isn't doing what you're doing, it's not about getting aggressive, it's about tugging the lead so that they can feel the fact that you want them to come back, and then you can repeat your command. So heel, you tug, you heel. This is the perfect time to let your dog know that actually you're not happy with their behavior. And at the end of the day, what I did is not only tug the lead, but actually stop completely if he wasn't listening. So the idea is if we're walking and I want him to heel and he's not healing, I tug on it. So like warning 1, Casper, tug, then carry on, tug again, Casper, heel. And then the 3rd time I stop. I tug, I stop, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going anywhere until we're walking and you're healing next to me. But it's about also being consistent. What I mentioned before is about being repetitive, being consistent. So it's about actually continuously doing that. You can't be giving one warning once and then the next time you've actually given him about 5,000 warnings, you know. It's about being consistent. So if you decide to do that method, you need to do it 3 steps at a time. If it's straight away and you're being strict, then it's about tugging, stopping, and being like, no, heel. But yeah, anyway, I hope this helps because I know that this method really worked for us. So those are the 7 things that I found are super helpful for lead work, and I hope that these help you as well, especially if you're training a big dog to walk on a lead next to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you got to this part, please do give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe if you want to see more of Casper and us. We are a bilingual family doing lots of content, so please do join our journey. I'll be happy to have you. And basically until next week, because we have a weekly update of Casper and the stuff that we do with him. Thanks so much, and until next time.